Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Intermountain Railroad recently released another run of their Tier 4 ET44 or ET44 AC locomotives. We have Navajo Mine Railroad with a nice Navajo Mine coal consist. We also have Kansas City Southern, which is now a fallen flag. Sounds kind of weird coming out of my mouth. But anyway, these are both ESU Loc Sound equipped locomotives. We're going to take a look at what you get for these. We have the full review of these posted on my channel, so this will be a quick refresh showing you the updated schemes and any differences I see. So let's get started next. Alright, unboxing on these locomotives. Just lift the flap up here and slide out the loco. There's some manuals inside, operator's guide and decoder reset along with CV listing in there as well. The locomotive itself is in another sleeve also. If you're familiar with some of their brands, they have these kind of clamshell type setups, and you need a screwdriver. It's supposed to be a Phillips head. You know me, I'm never doing what I'm supposed to. This is a flat head, but it does fit into these Phillips heads to unscrew the locomotive, which is actually screwed in at the fuselage, or the fuel tank, I should say. We're just going to unscrew these, and really you should kind of have this tilted up when you're unscrewing them, because eventually that locomotive is going to let loose, and if it's on its side it'll kind of thump off to the side. So I just give it a good go here, make sure we're released. Sometimes the screw will let you know that it's released. Then you remove these bracings here. You can remove even the back plastic, and the locomotive will lift up and off the platform. So there's the Navajo Mine. We'll do a detailed look at this on a 360, and then I'll just show you a Vanna White version of the KCS. So I don't know of any changes on this, but we didn't look at the Navajo Mine before, so I'll just kind of run down the ET44 details on this. It'll be similar to my last video on that part, but we'll skip testing. You got silver tipped accessory hoses, brake line hoses, KD coupler, LED ditch lights, headlight. You've got an MU hose at the bottom plugged into both sides, and an MU receptacle, coupler cut lever, LED headlight, separately applied grabs, sand filler hatches, grabs on the nose as well. Finely detailed windshield wipers. You can barely see, but that's good because they're supposed to be 1/87 scale of a real one, which ain't that thick to begin with. The satellite dome and antennas up top on the roof. And you go along the side here and you've got dynamic brake fan grills on the side. Horn mounted up top. The exhaust, which on this version is flush. There's a flush and tapered version, Tier 4s. This is the flush version, which means it's completely surrounded on all sides of the exhaust by basically the locomotive metal work itself. You see Navajo Transitional Energy Company on the side there. And on the front, you do see coal listed. So that's pretty cool. Number 2026 on this locomotive. Paint's beautiful. The lines separate nicely. There's no blur that I can see, but you're zoomed in way closer than I am. FRA reflective lighting or striping on the side. You've got the handbrake, the dynamic brake fan, or radiator fan I should say, on the back. The big hood is a lot more predominant on the Tier 4s because it's trying to basically be as eco-friendly as possible. Those are Tier 4 requirements of the locomotives. Horn is mounted into the rear as well. Step lighting coupler cut levers, accessory hoses along that side as well. Stanchions look pretty good and straight, but you'll be the judge of that. And the window tint is beautiful. Exactly how I'd want it dark, because that's what you see on the real thing. So looks nice. I'm glad they went with that dark tint. I think it really sets off the locomotive, makes it look great. All right, so that's a 360 of the Navajo. Let's take a look at the KCS. Man, I will tell you, that KCS really pops. It's just beautiful. On the front here, number 5004, more of the same detail, but one definite thing you'll see different is the antenna array. Looks really nice. They've got anti-skid, it looks like, represented along the top with that striping. Beautiful window tint, as I mentioned. This locomotive is just really, really beautiful, especially with that silver top on this thing. Tier 4 radiator housing area is also silver, and that grille really just sets off this locomotive. This is beautiful. I did not expect this out of the box to be this eye-catching. A lot of the same details I mentioned on the Navajo mine, but a couple things that you'll notice different is there's not a horn mounted on the back of the Tier 4 radiator housing. You can see the X bracing a little better through this area here because it's got a darker color scheme, so it's a little easier to see. I didn't mention, and I should have mentioned, the brake chain detail, because it's real chain, so that's really neat to see there. And on this side, again, flipping back, you've got sight glass on the fuel tank, which is very visible, but man, look at that radiator. That's just beautiful. Another thing that's different about this is you can see that this is tapered off on the exhaust here, so this area is exposed of the exhaust, so that's really neat as well. And just a beautiful loco, man. So we're completely 360'd around here. Just back to the front. We'll go ahead and run these things. Okay, with ESU Loc Sound F8 should start this up. The ditch lights there, let's listen to some sounds. Here's the bell. Horn. You see the oscillating ditch lights there. There's coupler clink. And so many different functions. There's like 28 functions listed, 5 and 6 controls the ditch lights, 8 controls the startup and shutdown. There's just a lot of different sounds we could go over. Let's go ahead and move this thing. Hear the prime mover kind of spool up a little bit there. One speed step here and very smooth right out the gate. Nice flat white appearance on the headlight and ditch lights there. Sound is good. There's no baffle rattle or anything. And the bell does actually go off when you press the horn at the same time. As you can see, then it'll eventually stop. This is a good look so you can see all that detail on the roof I was talking about. Talking about some other functions here, F11 handles walkway lighting. You can see that light in between the ditch lights going on. That helps the crew see the walkways at night. There's F5, which it's hard to see. You can see it a little bit, but the ditch light or the number boards are lit, and they don't want them too bright because they're shining through, so I think they look just right. And then there's radiator fan, isolation switch, GE air dryer, sanding valve, just functions all the way up listed to 28, even cab door on 22. You can listen to that, it's something different. So just little sounds that ESU's programmed in to make this more realistic, which is really cool. So we'll go ahead and move forward again. Like if you want to see the pull tests and everything, those were on the previous video, but sometimes on re-releases I do like to go ahead and do a pull test, so I can do one for you real quick and see where we're at. Okay, I've got this hooked up back here, as you can see, and we're gonna go. It's really clicking in now. You actually hear wheel flange sounds, which is kind of cool. Looks like about 4.6 we're maxing out at. It's about 67 to 70 freight cars per locomotive. Pretty good pull, but you know, I do a pull test in the same area, so the full review may be more accurate if it's different. It's cool to see that they have wheel flange sounds built into this as well. So slow speed control, as you can see, is good. Just really slow. We're at 3 already, and it's still just crawling along there. A well-executed locomotive from Intermountain Railway. If you look really closely, you can see the wheel bearing caps rotate at the bottom. You can look for that on the run-by as well. For the run-by, I'll be doing this locomotive by itself. Then we'll do the Navajo mine with the Navajo mine cars. The Navajo mine cars will have a separate review, but you can find those at your brick and mortar hobby shops and online retailers. Intermountain has released all 18 of the Navajo mine coal cars, or 18 of them in total, with different names, and there'll be a separate review of that. So with that said, a well-executed locomotive. Let's wrap this up with some run-bys.